All right, let's have a look at the Fed, the skip, the boring stuff, the economy, the US economy. But remember that the US economy is tied into the military industrial complex, which is also tied into everything in the economy, whether you know it or not. Now, we could have a look at crypto next in, me saying that, but I'll leave that to the end because people might actually want to hear some interesting stuff in relation to the Fed skip. It was projected that they would be doing so. It was projected that, I didn't foresee it being called a skip though, or being interpreted as a skip. Some people thought it was a pause. I guess the pause is, if you pause a game, then, it stops. The skip is to imply that there's more coming. So I don't know what that means, but that is what they're interpreting it as. They call it a skip instead of a pause. So I guess if you understand that, that might help. But again, they heavily signal what is going on, and they also tend to, the whole point is they created this problem, right? The Fed created the inflation problem by their inaction, actions, whatever, whichever way you want to look at it. And the fact that somehow they would then break themselves, it doesn't seem to be as plausible. Now, you could appear weak and like no one knows what's going on, but it's almost the built-in obsolescence whereby a long time ago a light bulb was invented that is still running, and they thought that's not a good business model. We need things to break. Then we can fix them. Then we can create our own supply chains and keep providing people with what they need, which is light bulbs that break. But then later on, LEDs did come along and they tend to last longer. But I think you get my point of view. Now, the next thing I will briefly mention is if you really think crypto is going somewhere, where you think the SEC is going to kill crypto in the US, and you haven't heard of things like pulseburn.com or any other exchanges that people are they keep coming out of everywhere, where you can get your pulse chain and you can have a look at some of this yield, which doesn't appear to be dropping as fast as I thought it would. I hate to say it, it is almost, not hate to say it, but it's almost stabilizing at these levels. Previous yield farms, they would drop off by now. They'll be basically like 0.01%, and you need huge amounts of capital to be able to earn anything at all. Now, what's happening in chat, viewers? I'm not even sure if I've got the chat on at the moment. Sorry, I've got some lighting issues, some weird pop-ups. Now, it's funny because when you're, I don't know what you'd call it, but basically yesterday I couldn't even access the internet because I was getting doxed. I was actually getting I couldn't access Google. It would not let me do the search, and I'm like, I don't know why. Basically, Google had locked me out of their Google search server for whatever reason. So that was great. So that's why now I use DuckDuckGo. You guys might have heard of it. Supposedly it doesn't track and trace you as much. Now we'll go to the Gary McKinnon stuff because I thought, kind of interesting stuff. Actually, before the Gary McKinnon stuff, let's go to Crypto.com. Crypto.com is planning to shut down US crypto exchange after SEC lawsuits targeting industry. So again, we're seeing crypto type exchanges, middlemen basically. However, some of them do provide fiat on and off ramps with credit cards, etc. Maybe you use them, maybe you don't, I don't know. Not an advocate of any of them. However, it's always good to keep your options open, especially in an environment where cryptocurrency is under huge siege, quote unquote siege, by the US. However, again, as I said before, things not based in the US because it's based nowhere, like all crypto, how they're going to stop that. Anyway, so you could say, oh, it's another blow to the industry, but I'm not going to be checking prices for like a long time because there's a lot of macro stuff going on in the economy. There's a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. However, as I said before, a lot of it has been self-inflicted. Not in the crypto space as such, but when you think about the US and the Fed and the moves that they made, they created the problem which they are now solving, which really makes you wonder. And now they have the skip. Lol. It's almost like they don't know what's coming next. They don't know what's coming next. It's like, hang on. They signal pretty heavily what is coming next. Now, the next thing, I couldn't believe this. Now, before we go on to the Gary McKinnon stuff and the UFO type stuff, which I also have a small interest in. I don't want the Men in Black rocking at my door though, you know, kicking in the door. Take down the stream. I don't think that's going to happen. But if you are paying attention to the economy, you might be noticing the purchasing power of the US dollar is sort of decreasing a little bit. Some people might say buy crypto, cash and gold, etc. However, there's a war in cash, there's a war in crypto. Some people are saying that it's an argument for gold. However, I disagree. Again, I'm more of an advocate for crypto, so no surprises there. Now, we see here, if you're paying attention to the economy at large, you're going to be seeing BRICS Plus. Now, they're basically possibly going to be developing a currency based on, now how do I word this? I'm going to try and word it right. Basically, the BRICS Plus nations are looking to create a currency by which they can all trade, and I would also imagine would be open for the entire world to trade. The explanation here is the launch of a common currency would provide numerous advantages, India including enhanced trade opportunities, reduced dependence on the US dollar. So you can sort of see this happening in the world, not being, you know, the petrodollar basically ruling the world, not so much. However, if we think that the Fed and the US dollar is going anywhere, I did hear some kind of bullish sentiment. Now, the bullish sentiment was, I won't cover that yet, I'll do this one here. Now, life rates, big surprise that they pause. Hence, pause sees 2 more rises later in the year. So then, since then, we've seen the terminology, the skip emerging. So it's the Federal Reserve signals a skip. Not sure where that came from. We're also seeing crypto news again. Haven't checked the markets, but yeah, the US trying to kill crypto? Then you see other articles like prices are tanking, but these new coins are rising. So it's like, hang on. The narrative is the US is killing crypto, whilst at the same time, here's some good buying opportunities. Okay. Now, so we've covered BRICS, we've covered crypto.com, covered Fed. Now, okay, so remembering how the Fed is connected to the government is connected to other agencies, which is also connected to things like the military-industrial complex, which is also connected to everything. And why do we see these endless wars? Why was Bitcoin, sort of released? Because maybe it was a political statement saying we don't want these endless wars, and we're going to create our own currency that's not supporting these endless wars. Now, we see also political prisoners being locked up for God knows how long, like Assange. Also, to a lesser extent, we did see attacks on people like Andrew Tate. We see the political censorship of Alex Jones continuing to continue on, even though Elon Musk has come out and said his platform is a free speech platform. Okay, so what is really happening? If you get on the wrong side of certain things, people, entities, I have no idea, you basically get shut down. Now, cryptocurrency, I'm hoping is not sort of being swept towards that area, because when that happens, maybe you get shut down. However, cryptocurrency is a lot harder to do that. But who knows, right? Who knows? Well, I think some people do know, but the Fed's ability to be able to battle this inflation, which they created. I did hear somewhere, which is extremely bullish. Basically, if the Fed is above 4%, it means they have a lot of dry powder to be able to throw at things. Now, can you imagine, I'm not talking about the OA here, someone with huge amounts of dry powder, being able to throw things in the economy, to be able to fix things, manipulate things, or change things, or alter things. It is possible. It is very possible. And I was extremely surprised to hear that, because I thought it was doom and gloom forever. Now, if that does occur, then all of this sentiment is likely to go away. Because if everything's pumping again, stocks are pumping, commodities are pumping, and the new currencies are emerging, maybe there's global peace, cryptocurrency is most likely going to be, progressing higher, especially leading into the US election coming up, especially leading into the BTC halving taking place. and things like that. You know. Now, what do we got? This is just my thoughts. You know. Oh, the Gary McKinnon stuff. So I had a super chuckle. I was like listening to this, alright? And for what it's worth, you may or may not appreciate this content. However, I don't mind it. Let it play through.
Thank you for watching the latest Greg Reese Report. Be sure to go to reesereport.com to see my latest videos, sign up for my free newsletter, and subscribe for exclusive content. And be sure to support my sponsor at InfoWarsStore.com.
YouTube, this is not InfoWars content. This is a review of the review.
We're off-gassing highly toxic fluoride gases into the atmosphere.
Oh, I missed the best part. Start again. Take two.
During World War II, the Nazis' most classified project was known as Die Glock, the bell. Secret documents found years later reveal that the bell was a new kind of exotic energy technology that could affect time and defy gravity. In 1939, the Nazis set up a secret base in Antarctica known as New Swabia. Starting in 1945, Operation Paperclip secretly brought hundreds of Nazi scientists into America, where they were hired by the military.
I have too much time on my hands.
In 1946, Admiral Richard Byrd led a military expedition known as Operation High Jump to seek out Nazi base New Swabia and other Antarctica bases. On his way back to the U.S.,
Wait for it.
Admiral Byrd told Chilean newspaper El Mercurio that in the event of a new war, the U.S. would be facing military craft that can fly from one pole to the other with incredible speed. In 1959, a dozen nations signed the Antarctic Treaty, making it illegal for anyone to travel south of the 60th parallel without government permission. Since then, curious videos have circulated that show what appear to be Nazi UFOs. Just last Monday, Dr. Stephen Greer introduced Antarctica whistleblower Eric Hecker.
In 2010, I was selected to go down to the South Pole Station in Antarctica for an entire year by Raytheon Polar Services as an employee of a third-party contractor for the National Science Foundation. I function in a dual-role capacity as a tradesman and a firefighter.
People are yelling "shut up" at the screen as we speak.
More informed than most of my crew and offered me complete access to the facilities. What I learned from this unique experience needs to be shared with the entire world. The technology at the South Pole Station certainly can do what it is presented as its primary purposes, and unfortunately, much more. The execute neutrino detector is presented as a passive listening device for the purposes of the science as presented, but I'm going to skip right through the chase, folks. I have provided documentation that proves that the 5,160 what they call DOMs that are embedded in the ice can actually transmit at 2,047 volts each. That gives us a long list of things to consider. It is effectively a multifaceted directed energy weapons platform that I will list rapidly a few things that it can do. Vehicle detection. We're learning that these off-world craft, on-world craft, ours or other nations, are also emitting neutrinos. So this makes the South Pole Station effectively an air traffic control station for this new level of equipment that nobody's discussing. In addition to the ability to detect neutrinos and the exotic vehicles, I provided documentation that shows that this is also a system for faster than light communications. In the past, Gary McKinnon has hacked NASA, found the off-world fleet, the list of captains, and it's apparent that if we have faster than light vehicles moving.
Pause here. So Gary McKinnon, it's kind of funny because, like I said, I used to be pretty interested in this whole UFO thing before discovering some conspiracy theory websites and then discovering learning about the economy as at large, because I thought the economy basically, if you follow the money like the petrodollar and why there's endless wars over oil, maybe it brings you to a higher understanding on how the planet really functions. And there's a lot of documentaries out there about Gary McKinnon. Again, whether you believe this stuff or not, that's completely up to you. However, if you take into account all of the information presented in the context in which it is presented, both pro and con, it's up to you to then make your decision and or research further, maybe find out what is going on, or what could be going on and what is being hidden or not. Maybe it's all a big conspiracy and no one cares about it. But if you have a look at here, the Joe Rogan show, there's about 53 million views on Bob Lazar. Now, again, this is another UFO guy. Yeah, if you've done research into this, it's pretty interesting stuff. Like, why is there such huge interest in this topic? Especially now, we've seen it go from people being openly laughed at and mocked because they even talk about UFO, because they were deemed, what was the word? I think it was actually conspiracy theorists, because they were the people that believed in the UFOs, and that's how you discredit them, by calling them conspiracy theorists. Lol. Now, yeah, so Joe Rogan, Bob Lazar, Gary McKinnon, Dr. Greer, and many others. Now, what have we got? I'll continue on here. With this.
Throughout the system, we're going to need faster than light communications. This is that facility. Unfortunately, I have other bad news. The season that I was there, 2010 to 2011, we converted from construction to operations and maintenance of both the elevated station and the detector array. Unfortunately, when they first fired it up, that was when we had the earthquakes in Christchurch, New Zealand. There's 2 incidental shocks before they were able to target it correctly. This is an earthquake generating device as well.
Coincidence, yeah?
That we have to deal with now, and what radiant's hiding. There's an ELF system at South Pole Station that when I arrived, I was told that
Raytheon, they're pretty peaceful, right?
In my work, I will rapidly just tell you I had to figure out circuitry for certain other repairs, and I found that this system is in fact completely energized, up and running, and being utilized with the other systems for nefarious purposes as well. The Atmospheric Research Observatory is in what we call the clean air sector. I witnessed myself a very powerful green laser shooting out of the top of this facility into the cosmos. This, I believe, is a secondary form of
It's crazy.
communications and or a defense system. The question of power comes into play for all of these facilities that are present. I assure you, I knew what was going on. I knew the lower demands of the facility, and all of these new items exceed the demand for the systems that I was presented. I am doing due diligence and research. I believe there's either secondary power supply.
I can't believe I missed this presentation.
That was there prior to the start of the Antarctic Treaty, which prohibits such things, and or that there is some sort of exotic power supply system there that just is not in the verbiage of the treaty, so it negates the responsibility to the parties involved.
Reporting for InfoWars, this is Greg Reese.
This is why I called the stream The Fed Skip and Gary McKinnon, because I thought I would cover how the economy as we know it around the world is built, in my opinion, to launder money, to be able to create secret weapons that we will never see. But it's funny how there's poverty, there's mental illness, the school test scores are dropping, we're arguing about all sorts of nonsense. There's huge wars going on, and the amount of funding that's going to these conflicts far exceeds that of what would be needed to update all of the infrastructure in whatever country you come from that is involved in these skirmishes, these weapons testings, and B, most likely end hunger and possibly end homelessness, because maybe some people choose to be homeless, I don't know. But yeah, anyway, so my best shot of being able to try and influence the future beyond openly speaking my mind on a platform such as Rumble, and Twitter, to a lesser extent, is most likely going to be cryptocurrency. Now, we're still flipping coins as to whether or not to engage in such farming, but if these LP positions continue to sort of present this sort of APR year after year, even if they sort of like 100% APR It's unheard of in financial legacy markets. Now, it's a funny thing because as more people hear about it, it increases, it decreases the APR. You know. So at the moment, you got to find that sweet spot. You know, is this a sweet spot? Who knows? As mass adoption comes over the next 12 months, we'll find out if the APR stay. All right, that's about it. I'll end on a positive note, which is APR insane, and if the Fed, I can't show you the article, because I haven't got it on my screen, but if anything over 4%, the Fed is able to. It has dry powder, a lot of dry powder, and it has means and capabilities to resolve a lot of the stuff that we are seeing. However, we're just going to have to experience a lot of pain in the meantime. How much pain can we all withstand? Who knows? I don't know. I don't know your financial position. This is not financial advice. It's not legal advice. Anything I've said is purely my thoughts. And basically, here in Australia, we have political free speech, and everything I just presented was my political freedom of speech. So, YouTube, if you don't like that, this is why Rumble is going to take you over. Now, that is about all. I think we're in for some pain in the cryptocurrency space. I think we're in for some pain in the economy. But you know, what comes after pain usually could be extreme amounts of joy. But yeah, I think dry powder is going to be deployed eventually in the future. Otherwise, how are we going to get our shiny new weapons? Free speech signing out.